Welcome to
The Layered Tribe,
where we're unmasking blend reality. Hi, Jenny coming to you from Layered Tribe, where we are unmasking blend reality. Blend reality. We are starting off with a book series. I'm going to kind of talk about how this journey began and how we got to where we are today. It really kind of started with a group of ladies that I was working with a couple of years ago. And we were the only ones that actually, out of the group of us, the majority of us were married to men who had kids from before. Some of us had kids after. I had my daughter before. And so we would sit around and we would talk. And we would talk about the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads, the just everything. But our trials and tribulations. And all of the personalities and all the offenses that would happen. And one day I was like, we should write a book together. And we should just call it Run. Just don't do it. Just as a warning. And everybody's like, yeah. And it never happened. But since then, I don't work with that group of ladies. There's still a subset of us that has a group chat. And literally, all we do is have outbursts on it. It's kind of comical, actually. And we have this outburst. And it'll be like, oh my gosh. This is what happened. This is what they said. Can you believe? And then it'll go quiet, and then somebody else. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's them. Anyway, it's so funny because I'm like, this book still needs to be written. We need to warn people. So I was like, one day after a very spirited exchange on this group chat, I was like, you know what? Today is the day. I am going to write this a book. And so I sit down and me and my little trusty ghostwriter ChatGPT started working on outlines and ideas and concepts, and I start writing. I got the outline done. I got 3 chapters done. And then I was like, wait a minute. I am pretty sure that there are books out there already on this topic. And I'm kind of curious as to what they might have to say on this topic. I actually already had a few books on hand because my husband and I have been married 7 years. And after the first year, we were like, this is not working at all. We stumbled across Family Life, which is a Christian organization that focuses on preserving family. We went to this conference thinking we were going to just get all this sage and wisdom and support and the keys to the kingdom, the answers. And we were going to be like, yes, now we know how to do this thing. And when we left, we actually were just so solemn. We're crying. We're like, wow, this sucks. This is, it may get better. It may not. And I'll talk more on that as we continue this journey. But we did come into a lot of resources that have helped. I'm not going to say that they didn't help. But, man, y'all, this is, and if you're watching, this is such, this journey is just the bumpiest journey ever. Literally, people say marriage is the hardest thing you do in life. I think this layered tribe thing is even harder. And so I started to write this book and I was like, hold on. So I did as much research as I could about how many books are out there. And I came up with a list of 121-ish. And it's so funny because up until the 90s, there was a very few amount of books written. And then after the 90s, it's just the topic has exploded. But this is all under step family, blended family. Blended family seems to be the societal norm right now. And there is no such thing as blended. And if you're new to the channel, you see the video where I talk about why I don't believe in the word blended. And so I started this. I was like, okay, well, before I go and write another book out there and just toss another book into the abyss of society, I was like, I am going to research. And so one of the things I'm going to do is kind of just comb through the topics of the books. So I want to go through some of the things as we do book reviews. Is going to be one portion of this channel because all things, there's good, there's bad. Sift through the information, pull out the tips, the tricks of people who are experts in this field. of people who have lived it, and it's kind of funny. Some of the books are just rants and offloading. I think it's a form of therapy for some people because it's just like, I need to get this off my chest. I'm going to write a book, which is kind of like what I was kind of going towards. Not get it off my chest, but people need to be warned, like, before you get into this. So another aspect of our Laird Tribe that I'm going to start, it is going to primarily live on TikTok for now and Instagram, but it's Solo Saturdays. The argument, I guess I should say, of why, if you have a child or children that are at home age, the arguments for staying single until they're out of the house. I am a huge believer that you should not get married if you have children at home. And part of that came out was I had the same conversation with two different women, one in her 30s, one in her 20s, who both have children, who are talking about getting married. They're in this dating phase, and I literally almost had verbatim the same conversation, and it kind of sucks because, they're in their 20s and 30s. I'm in my 40s. I'm 46. So I'm like, okay, it's easy to sit here and say, yeah, don't get married, until your kids are at your house. Because I'm already kind of like, I didn't want to have any more kids. I'm not going to have any more kids. So it's kind of like, okay, it may seem like it's an easier thing said than done. And then it's like, well, hey, you're married. Like, so why are you telling other people not to get married? And that's what the Solo Saturday is going to talk about. It's going to talk about, the things that I have learned because I did get married, how things did shift. I was a single parent until she was 5 or 6 actually. And just the things that have changed, which is also why I'm so excited about this first book. After I compiled my list, I'm not gonna lie, I totally judge books by their cover. The title of this book, Blissfully Blended BS, really just stuck out at me. And the subtitle being The Uncomfortable Truths of Blending Families. It just jumped out at me because I was like, there's so many times that I have been through, I'm like, this is just crap. I don't understand it. And it's so funny because a lot of the books written have been from Christian or are from Christian perspectives. Clearly, by the title, this really isn't. But this one really stood out because of the title, the strength behind that, the just angst behind that. Like if Avril Lavigne from the 90s could have sang a song about the Laird tribe and all of the heartache, and this would be like the title. And I don't know. It just was like, oh, my husband still doesn't know what to think about this whole little journey because he's like, okay. Because he would get home and I would be crying because I'm like, she gets it. She gets it. She articulated it. This is amazing. And we're not alone. I'm not alone. One time, which I'll talk about later, I actually ran out to the garage and stopped him in the middle of his woodworking project because I was like, you gotta listen to this story. We're not the only ones that fight over omelets. And he's just like, seriously, you like stopped me from working so that you could see that. Oh yeah, I did. Carry on now. And anyway, so overall, the book was a very easy read. Rebecca Eckler is the author, and she's from Canada, and apparently best known journalists and authors in Canada. And it was, in the back, it says, is witty, engaging, and refreshingly candid chronicle of the modern family's journey as they blend households. Totally witty. Loved the book. If you can get around the cursing, I don't know if it's offensive to some, but great read. I would totally recommend. I cannot wait to dive into this journey, this book review over the next couple of weeks, deep diving into the topics that Rebecca talks about. And my hope is that we can get her on here and just get her perspective on some things. I do have some questions, but we'll see. That's a work in progress. Loved the book. Loved the book. And look forward to deep diving into it even more. See you tomorrow for our first topic from Blissfully Blended BS. Have a good one. Signing off for now. Ciao, bye. Don't forget, we'd love to hear from you. We welcome comments, testimonials, thoughts, questions, or rants, either by submitting a form on our website or leaving a voicemail at 281-946-9886.
Modern Man Monday.
So we can't talk about the Laird tribe without hearing from the voice of a modern man living in a modern Laird tribe. Our question today is, as you know, I've been reading books, and part of our channel is doing book reviews, and I know you're a huge fan of the books I've been reading. I'm getting a face. So what we're going to do as part of our segment, there's a lot of voices online from a female perspective on, of course, on our relationships in men, the roles of men in first marriages and second marriages. And I just feel like it's kind of important to have the voice of a man, the perspective of a man on some of these things. And so I really appreciate you being the voice of the man, today's men, and kind of sharing your thoughts and perspective on some of these topics. With that being said, on our first book review for this week, I was talking about in the book how she kind of articulated all the crazy fights and all the weird random topics. And I kind of wanted to get your perspective on what is the most ridiculous thing that you think from your perspective that we have fought about, that you're like, I can't even believe this is a conversation. You're like, there's so many.
And we've fought about pots and pans. We have fought about trash cans, brooms, just, and it always comes down really to the same thing. And that's the problem, is it's what we're used to. It isn't that we necessarily have a preference one way or the other, but our preference ends up being because of what we've done in the past. And so for whatever reason, we grab a side really quick on how we feel. And that's what starts the fight. I mean, anytime you have put your foot down, I put my foot down, and we've pretty much ready for battle. So and it's for stuff that means nothing in the big picture of it.
I mean, yes and no. That's a good point, is that when you put your foot down, like we get into the standoff, which is something that I think you just kind of wind up in this ring, and this becomes just one point. So from your perspective, when you get in this kind of a gridlock, I know we've gone through marriage counseling and stuff, but when you get in this gridlock, it's kind of easy to say hindsight is 2020 and these things don't mean anything, but then yet they do, or we wouldn't be fighting about them. You have the perspective that in your first marriage, y'all got together very young, so y'all grew up developing these tastes together. But I think a lot of people, especially in Laird tribes, are coming in older, established. And so this is the pots and pans and trash can fights are probably a lot of the things that are fought about as well, because you're merging households. What advice would you get for men when you're merging two families?
So I'm trying to remember, we went to the first marriage counselor that we ever went to. And he was part of a Laird tribe. And I forget what they fought over, him and his, it was something about washing dishes or the sink or something. And he's a counselor, and they were still dealing with it after all these years. So it just makes you think that, first of all, and I still am amazed that they couldn't deal with it, but the point is that there's always going to be those things. And so if you're always going to put your foot down every single time, then you are just going to be in battle mode all the time. And in the big picture, is that how you want your life to be, in battle mode? Because sometimes it's just better to set some of them out. I think the reason we get in battle mode, though, is because we think we have set them out, and that we feel like maybe it's pushed too far one way or too far the other. But the reality is, it still doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter ultimately, because the things that we are talking about, whether it's a trash can that the head spins, or the button pushes, or the pedal opens the top, or
actually, it was touchless.
All right. whatever.
It was motion censored.
I mean, it's like, because ultimately, especially as we get older and we start realizing health, and we start seeing our friends die or our family die, or we see things that aren't going to ever be the same again, then we just have to start thinking, is it really worth it? Is it really, And the other thing is, if you say no, it's not, then you really have to let go, because you're only fooling yourself.
How do you really let go?
Just have to say, you know what, to yourself, it really doesn't matter. This was a preference that I had because of my ex-wife or my mom or my dad or whatever. But is the other way really wrong? Is it really changing anything? Can I push the top, or can I use the pedal, or can I wave my hand over it? Does it really matter? Is the trash going to get thrown away? Yes, ultimately it is. Is it going to, and sometimes we have to say, you know what, maybe it is better that we make our wife happy or keep our family happy, because supposedly that's what we're supposed to care about more than anything else. When we're in battle mode, that is not what we care about. Battle mode requires one thing, a win. And we have to lose that mentality of always wanting a win. We do it all our lives. We try to win at work. We try to win when we played sports. We always wanted to win. That's what we're talk about all the time. Just sometimes it's like, and sometimes as you mature in your relationships, whatever, you find out that a win is not necessarily a win. Because if it does take your relationship further away from where it should, if it does take your spouse further away from a relationship that you want to grow closer in, all those things, it wasn't a win. Modern Man Monday.
Inspired by today's Modern Man chat, we have created a worksheet to help you and your partner when you find yourselves at an impasse while you are in battle mode. The worksheet is available on our website, where you can also contact us with questions or comments for Scott, or send us a text or a voice message at 281-946-9886. This is Jenny, and I wish you strength, grace, and wisdom as you continue this tricky journey with your modern Laird tribe. Bye.